Hi, good morning, good evening to all of you wherever you are. In this new video, I'm going to talk about Babok. You must have heard about this term called Babok. This is business analysis body of knowledge and it is published by IIBA. So let's look at what I'm going to discuss today in this video. I'll start by looking at what is Babok. Then I'll talk about what Babok is not. What are the key elements of the Babok book? That will be the next topic. Then I'm going to describe them briefly, the key topics of Babok. And in the end, I'm going to talk about why studying Babok is important for you. Let's get started with the first topic, which is what is Babok? Babok is a reference book for all the IIBA certifications, for example, ECBA, CCBA and CBAP. All the questions are purely based on Babok. So you have to study Babok to be able to clear the certification exam. Babok also contains all the elements of business analysis practice. In a way, it represents or puts forward the best practices used by multiple business analysts across the world. So this is what Babok is. But what Babok is not? So Babok certainly is not a textbook. Neither is a training material or a training manual. As I mentioned earlier, it has to be treated that it is a best practices book. It does not recommend any specific practices, any specific methodology for business analysts to practice, because it's a more generalized description of what are the best practices in the industry. Let's now understand the third thing, which is what are the elements of the Babok version 3 guide. Version 3 is the latest guide of Babok. We have a chapter on the key concepts where Babok introduces the key concepts used in the other chapters of Babok. For example, requirements classification schema and definition of various concepts and terms used in Babok. Then comes 6 knowledge areas. These knowledge areas are basically defining the practice of business analysis. I'll talk about these knowledge areas in a bit. Then we have chapters on competencies, the competencies which are required to be able to perform the business analysis tasks. Then comes techniques. So techniques are basically a generic term used to represent certain practices or certain skills which can enhance or which can optimize the way you do a task. Basically, techniques provide a more optimized version of how do you do a task. It's like doing a manual versus an automated thing. That's the technique. So there are 50 techniques in Babok. Then finally, perspectives. So when you are doing a project or participating in a project, the project could be an agile project. The project could be a very traditional one, or it could be related to business intelligence. So there are perspectives with which a business analyst can participate in a project. Please remember that Babok is specifically written from the business analyst perspective. So you'll find a lot of things in Babok which are specific to business analysis. For example, it has a chapter called Business Analysis Planning and Monitoring. Even though we know that business analysis planning is going to be ultimately part of the project planning and monitoring approach. So as discussed previously, let me tell you about the knowledge areas. So knowledge areas are the key elements of this Babok guide. They basically represent the elements or the sub-elements of a practice. So business analysis is a practice under which there are 6 knowledge areas. Starting with business analysis planning and monitoring, then comes elicitation and collaboration, then comes requirements analysis and design definition, then comes requirements lifecycle management, solution evaluation and strategy analysis. These 6 knowledge areas represent the entire range of activities which fall under business analysis. Now you may ask, as a business analyst, am I going to do all of them? Answer is no. This is the full range. In some projects, you will be doing some part of the work. Like if you're working on a project, you'll typically be using planning and monitoring, elicitation, requirements analysis and design definition, and lifecycle management. But when you are working with the customer before the project starts, you might be doing some work in the strategy analysis where you define change strategy. So consider these as the full range of activities. Now each knowledge area also has a structure where each knowledge area has been divided into tasks, and each task further is divided into 8 elements, which you can see on the screen. So it's a structure with business analysis at the top, knowledge areas at the next level, tasks for each knowledge area as the next level, and finally the other elements for each task. That is how the knowledge areas have been structured. There are 50 techniques already mentioned to you. There are 5 perspectives, and there are multiple competencies. Actually, there are 6. These competencies talk about the soft skills, the domain knowledge, and so on. Why do we need to study Babok? One particular point is very obvious, that if you are preparing for a certification like ECBA, CCBA, or CBAP, you have to study Babok. But the second reason, which is equally important, is that Babok is a book which provides you a very comprehensive coverage of business analysis practice. So when you're working in a job, your perspective and outlook is very limited to the project and the project scenario. Even though you may be good at it, but you don't know that there are possibly other options, other ways to do the same thing, maybe in a better way. That is what Babok is meant for. You should learn Babok to know about multiple ways of doing things, and as a business analyst, you should be in a position to decide which one is the best for you. That is an important skill. For example, if you are looking at which approach to use or which elicitation technique to choose for a particular project or a combination of techniques, if you know about all the elicitation techniques, it will be easier for you to decide which one to choose. If you only know about interviews and workshops, possibly you don't know that there are better ways which suit a particular project scenario. And that is where Babok is very, very helpful. This was a very quick overview of Babok. I'll be coming up with various other videos on knowledge areas as well as techniques. Keep watching. If you have liked the video, please subscribe to our channel and hit the like button. Thank you so much.